It is time to throw down with DraftKings UFC guru Tim Finnegan. My man, we need the 4-1-1 on Saturday's UFC Fight Night in Las Vegas. Sandhagen and Dillashaw taking center stage here. However, the night begins in the men's welterweight division. Mickey Gall looks to bounce back off a decision loss to Mike Perry last month when he tangles with Jordan Williams, who's coming off a decision loss of his own. So Williams is favored at minus 170 in this one, but has not fought since October of 2020. I need you to chase or fade a big-time return to the octagon for Williams.
Emerson, your energy is incredible. It's amazing.
Thank you. You bring it out in me.
I'm going to chase Williams here. So Mickey Gall has absorbed more strikes than he's landed. He has a negative strikes landed to absorb ratio. So that's always a red flag to me. Anytime I see that always scares me off a fighter. Williams is a high volume striker. He's landing about 6 significant strikes per minute. So the volume means he could be a good DFS scorer. He's 8,600 in DraftKings DFS contest this week. I would consider him as a play with his volume striking.
Well, next on the card here, Timmy, in the women's flyweight division, red hot Miranda Maverick, fresh off her unanimous decision over Jillian Robertson. She goes for her 6th straight dub when she squares off against MAYCEE BARBER. Chase or fade right now. BARBER ends Maverick's winning streak at plus 120.
I'm going to chase BARBER in this bout. This is a really good prospect matchup. Both of these are top prospects, and BARBER especially, she's coming off 2 losses, but in her last fight, she looked really good in the 3rd round. The last round, again, she lost the decision, but she was really building momentum in that fight. Both these fighters throw a lot of striking volume. They're both landing about 6 significant strikes per minute. But I can see BARBER building on that 3rd round in her last fight and putting it all together because she does have a lot of ability. So I would pick BARBER in this fight.
Okay, cool. How about for the second men's fight of the night? We go to the featherweight division as 2 veteran combatants each look for their 27th career victory when Darren Elkins faces Darrick Minner. Elkins, 37 years old, lost his last bout, is the underdog in this one at plus 130. Chase or fade Minner at minus 150.
I'm going to chase Minner. So Elkins is old. You know, he's 37 years old. He has a lot of fight mileage. He's been fighting since 2007. And if you look at the striking metrics in this fight, Minner has a better strikes landed to absorb ratio. He's about 2-1, where Elkins is about even. So I just look at Elkins' fight mileage, and he's lost 4 out of his last 5 fights. And I look at the striking metrics, and it's really just pointing towards Minner. So I'm going to pick him in this fight.
Okay. Bantamweight division, that's up next. That's what we're talking about. Heavy favorite here. Phillips, minus 260, looks to knock off PAIVA. Phillips seeking his 5th straight victory here, Finnegan. Chase or fade, he gets the job done.
I'm going to chase Phillips. It's another favorite, but I'm just looking at the striking metrics, and his metrics are so much better. PAIVA's absorbing about 5 significant strikes per minute. That's a lot of strikes to be taking in a fight. He's got a negative strikes landed to absorb ratio. So just the metrics across the board just really favor Phillips in this fight, and I'm concerned with how much damage PAIVA absorbs. 5 per minute is a lot. So I've fight.
All right, dude. Need you on this one. Big time. Main event of the evening. Number 2, Cory Sandhagen seeks his 15th career win when he battles TJ Dillashaw. Sandhagen coming off a spectacular flying knee knockout of Frankie Edgar, while Dillashaw suffered a first-round TKO in his most recent fight. That was back in 2019. I believe he's been on like a 2-year ban here. Sandhagen is favored at minus 190, but are we chasing or fading him to secure the victory versus Dillashaw?
So TJ Dillashaw at his peak was a great fighter. He's super well-rounded. He's got excellent wrestling, really good striking. He really mixes it well together, too, where he can blend his striking within his wrestling, like, seamlessly. But I don't know what we're going to get with him in this fight because he's coming off a positive EPO test. EPO is like a drug that you take to enhance your cardio. And he's coming off a long layoff. He hasn't fought since, I think, January 2019. It's been almost 3 years. In that fight, he lost to Henry Cejudo, but it was at flyweight. It was a weight class down. and he got knocked out in that fight. But he thinks he got knocked out because his body was just shutting down because he cut so much weight. So I don't know what we're gonna get with Dillashaw in this fight because there's so many factors: the EPO drug test, the long layoff. Like, he's 35. I mean, he could come out, and if he comes out in peak form, he could totally win this fight. But I just have no idea what we're gonna see from him. And Cory Sandhagen is so dangerous, and he's so long. He has about a 5-inch reach advantage in this fight. Sandhagen is the safer pick, but I could also see Dillashaw win. So I can't really make like a great pick here. I'm gonna go with Sandhagen, but Dillashaw would not. It would not surprise me if he performed really well.
Man, it just feels like you're stumped right now. You don't really know what to do. You're just kind of like right in the middle. But here we go. I can direct you directly where I need you to be directed right now. What are some props you're eyeing for this weekend's card? People need to know.
So Cory Sandhagen by KO or TKO is plus 120 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Like we just talked about, I don't know what we're going to see from TJ Dillashaw because there's so many factors that they're just kind of unpredictable with him. But we saw in his last fight against Frankie Edgar, Sandhagen's last fight, Sandhagen was so much taller than Edgar, and he threw this flying knee that just like took Frankie's head off. And he's just such a dynamic and unpredictable striker. He's going to have a range advantage in this fight. And Dillashaw's getting old. He's been knocked out before. He's been, even in fights that he's won, he's been dropped. So I think Cory Sandhagen by KO or TKO plus 120 is something you can consider.
And I know you've mentioned a few guys you like on the DFS side, but who is your favorite play overall? We're talking DFS contest this weekend.
So I'm going to look at the main event for this fight, and this is kind of a cop-out, but I think whoever wins this fight has a really good chance to be a really high fantasy scorer. Cory Sandhagen is 8,800 on DraftKings. TJ Dillashaw is 7,400. Both these fighters have high striking volume. Sandhagen's landing about 7 significant strikes per minute. That's a lot. That's really high striking volume. And TJ's landing about 5 per minute, so that's also excellent. And Dillashaw has the wrestling to generate control time and takedowns to rack up fantasy scoring. And Sandhagen's takedown defense isn't that great. He's only stopping about 60% of opponent takedown attempts. So like we talked about in the previous segment, I don't know how TJ Dillashaw is going to look with the layoff and the EPO test, and he's getting old and he's been knocked out in his last fight. So Dillashaw could come out looking kind of like old and decrepit, and Sandhagen could just lose. Or Dillashaw could come out in vintage form and fight really well. I really just don't know what we're going to see from him. So I think getting exposure to both of these guys in DraftKings DFS could be a good strategy. Because I think whoever wins this fight is going to be a good fantasy scorer.